Hi everybody, and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. Quick information before we begin. Today's video, 2 stories, both of them have updates. Now let's get started. This post is from the subreddit True of My Chest, and it's by user Wasting Rage. My wife cheated on me and says it's not her fault. Backstory. My wife and I have been married for 3 beautiful years. The problem is, she doesn't enjoy my hobbies as much as I do. The missus used to happily join me on adventures such as camping or fishing. Now, she won't so much as go on a simple hike with me. We have a 7-year-old, and since the kiddo, these adventures have been a little tough to plan and follow through with, which I understand, but it can be hard on me. I like to get out at least once a week to clear my mind, but now that's been reduced to around once a month. She is upset every time I leave on a quick trip to the Rockies, etc., because I'm not helping enough with the kid. I've told her numerous times they should both come along, but she never agrees to this as she no longer enjoys these types of things. She has said that she wants to fully cut that part out of our lives, and that really pains me. We had always planned to have our children be outdoor kiddos, but I suppose she doesn't feel that way anymore. I guess I should respect her wishes, but should I give up on the sights I love to see and adventures I can't help but indulge in? She has girls' weekends and nights out around once a week to every other week. She just doesn't like camping anymore, and she definitely doesn't like me camping either. She for sure does most of the hard work with our child, as I have a job and I greatly appreciate her for it. When she goes out with the ladies, I'm there for the kiddo, and if she needs a break, there I am. It's no problem. Now to the bigger problem. This past weekend, the kiddo and I went on a 2-day camping trip for some father-son bonding time. As you know, this is a big hobby for me, and I want to share it with my son. Usually, we argue a lot about my trips, especially if I request to bring our child, but this time, she was oddly cooperative about the whole thing, but still insisted she wouldn't join us. I was surprised but didn't question anything because I was so excited that she was finally allowing us to go and didn't want her to change her mind. I thought we had finally found a common ground and the arguments were ending. I was wrong. We had a great trip and returned back on Monday. We expected to come to an empty house as my wife should have been at her office for a few more hours. I walked the kid up to his room as he was exhausted and ready for a nap. After, I walked into our bedroom to find a naked man in my bed. I recognized him as my wife's co-worker whom I have met numerous times at her work functions. At first, I was in disbelief and even wondered if I was in the right house. Then my wife walked out of our bathroom, also naked, and I had no more doubts. She looked petrified when she saw me. I have never been so angry. I yelled at the dude to get out of my house so I could speak to my wife. He grabbed his clothes and left. Then we started arguing. I never yell at my wife. We always want to keep things civil for our son, but I was so hurt I was screaming. Then my wife decides to get defensive, saying it's not her fault that I am barely around and camp so much. Even though I hardly go on trips anymore because she doesn't like it. She says, "That's what drove me to do this, your neglect of this family." I was in tears at that point. I just don't understand how her cheating could be my fault. When I turned around to leave, my son was standing in the doorway, and I felt terrible for yelling. I quickly consoled him, but my wife snapped at me again, telling me to get my hands off him. Now she won't speak to me and says I can't see my child until I apologize. Apologize for what? She said we could go on this trip. She planned to cheat and that kills me. It makes me wonder if she has done this before. I'm stuck staying with my parents right now. I don't know what to do. I want to see my son. I'm worried I really scared my child, and of course, I would apologize to him, just not my wife, but maybe it is my fault. Wow, OP, your wife is a prize. Of course this is not your fault. Nobody forced her to cheat on you. And the fact that you have a hobby that you enjoy and that you indulge in a couple of times a month is absolutely okay and no reason for any relationship to go through this. OP, your wife decided to cheat on you, did it in your house, in your room, in your bed, and is now gaslighting you to make you feel like it's your fault that she did it. And in doing so, she ran you out of the house until you apologize? F that, OP. Go back to your house. That's your kid, that's your house. She doesn't get to tell you to leave. So apart from going home right now, here's what else I would do. I would get in touch with a lawyer to start divorce proceedings as soon as possible, and of course, get all my financials in order right away. You simply can't trust her anymore. And what about you guys? What would you do if you were in OP's shoes? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. MC Mystery says, you got a couple aces up your sleeve. First is, let her know over text message that you will be notifying HR at her employer tomorrow about her affair with the coworker. This will get her to respond quickly to confirm in writing that she did, in fact, cheat on you. You'll need this for your lawyer. She'll likely threaten you, giving you more aces to work with. Do not have a single conversation without it being recorded. I'm so sorry this happened to you. Now is the time to play chess with your wife. Be smarter. And OP responds, thank you, planning things out. Definitely going to use your advice. Fit Highlight 6157 says, do not let her guilt you, my dude. There is absolutely no reason to justify cheating on someone, period. You didn't make her do anything. It sounds like you're an awesome dad, and it's so selfish of her to keep your son away from you. Don't just take it though, do what you need to do to see your son, even if it means court. Obviously, she is making terrible decisions. 1, cheating, 2, keeping you away from your son, which hurts him. I hope it gets better. And OP responds, thank you bro, I'm not going down without a fight. Smiley face with a tear. Ray6672 says, 10-1, not the first time. Most definitely not your fault. Lawyer up and start gathering evidence. Talk to your friends and friends of hers. She has talked to them and done this many times. Look at her social media and you will really know. Look at financials, etc. Most important, talk to the people around her job and gym. The evidence is there. All you have to do is look. Stop thinking of her as your wife because she hasn't been that for quite some time. Time to think of her as prey, and you are the ruthless hunter protecting your child because she is most definitely going to go for your jugular. Don't fall for her tears and her wanting to work things out. It is a ploy. If you can, hire a private investigator. You'll need all the evidence you can get. And OP responds, thanks for the advice. It's a hard thing to hear that it's likely she's cheated before, but sadly not shocking at this point. It was honestly tough writing my wife as, like you said, she hasn't felt like that. Thanks again. Eyes Wide Open says, it's not your fault, it never was and it never will. I found out my husband was cheating on me shortly after my father was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. He destroyed me at my most vulnerable time and told me it was my fault because I was neglecting my duties as a wife. Idest ordering out sometimes because I was at my father's house for 12 hours that day with my 4-year-old. He also told me it didn't matter when it happened because it was going to happen eventually. Cool. Lawyer up and drag her. My ex didn't show up to the 2 hearings we were scheduled for. Divorce was finalized 2 weeks ago. Though it hurts, my trust was betrayed, my heart was broken, and I'm now a single mom. I will never again let anyone kick me while I'm down. I will say this may not be the first time she stepped out of the relationship. Do not give in to any superficial attempts to repay what she destroyed. Take care of yourself. I wish you the best. And OP responds, I am so sorry to hear that. Sending so much love. Hope things are getting better. I know now more than ever that things are over. Thank you so much. OP's short-term update. I felt bad and pressured to leave, but you're right, I need to stand my ground. Divorce seems like the scary truth right now. Losing my kid is my worst nightmare. Gonna give it my all not to let that happen. I am back home now, decided it was best to get here as soon as possible. Things are quiet, but I'm relieved to be back in the same space as my son. Thank you all for the advice and kind words, it means so much. I'll keep you all updated if you'd like. Also, in case of any confusion, I am Canadian. Alright, well, community agrees OP needs to lawyer up and do something about his situation, which apparently he's already thinking about doing, and divorce seems like the likely option. Now, OP gave us 2 more updates that I've curated into one section. So let's move on with that, but of course before I gotta tell you about another playlist like this one that has only stories with updates on it. Now, let's move on to the update to see how this story ends. Update 1. For the past week, I've been working with a lawyer to initiate the process of divorce and gaining full custody of my son, with the exception of visitation for now until more is resolved. Things were awkward and tense for the first few days of my being back home, so my wife, using wife to keep things simple and identities private, decided to leave to stay with a guy I found naked with her. I'm disappointed at the example she's setting for our son, but this makes my decision to divorce even more concrete. I feel she spent the entirety of my absence calling and texting me rather than helping her own case. My son was excited when I came home, so I feel somewhat at ease. She left about 4 days ago, I believe. She has kept in contact and we have met a couple of times to go over some documents, with lawyers present. She is being more cooperative now that she is with her co-worker. I don't think she was a bad mother. I loved her and my son loves her. She just didn't love me. I don't regret marrying her, it just didn't end well. I will continue to share as much as I can if that's what people would like, but of course, the court has its confidentialities and I must keep within boundaries. I want to thank everyone for the continued support you all have shown me throughout this tough time in my life. I really do appreciate it. Also, I just want to note, please don't just blame women. Update 2. My now ex-wife revealed she is pregnant with a man she cheated with and no longer wants to see our child. This is another and most likely final update about my ex. See my past posts for more information if you'd like. I expected my last update to be the final post regarding my marriage, but this felt like a necessary thing to share. Last week I received several texts from my ex saying she was pregnant with an unknown man's child, obviously meaning she cheated with multiple other men before the one I found out about. She said she plans to keep the baby and start a family with her co-worker. She also mentioned that she wouldn't be fighting me for custody of our son. I told her I would be willing to split the custody or at least keep visitation rights for the sake of the kiddo, but she insisted she didn't care about that anymore. I am honestly in awe. I'm shocked she has given up on everything about the family we had, but I am most hurt for my son. At the end of the day, she isn't worth wasting any more of my energy on. I have been spending every moment I can with my kid and will continue to do so. I'm starting to feel more like myself again, and I can't wait to get back into adventures and nature. Smiley face. I'd like to say a final thanks to everyone for the support and encouragement. I will always be grateful for that. Tobias out for now. Final update. She was lying about the pregnancy. Wow, OP, your ex sounds like a piece of work. She absolutely sucks. Making up a fake baby to try to get out of fighting for custody? I mean, what's her logic here? If you're gonna be a deadbeat parent, lying about it to try to justify yourself or something isn't going to help. You're still gonna be crap. OP, I'm so sorry that you and your son had to go through this. I'm so sorry your son has such a crappy mother, but he apparently has a great dad, so keep at it, OP. All the best to the both of you in the future and take care. Now, let's move on to the next post that also has an update. This post is from the subreddit Am I the A-hole, and it's by user CommercialPresent555. Am I the a-hole for refusing to get rid of my pet snake even though my step-siblings-to-be are scared of him? I am 15 and I have a ball python. His name is Frederick. My grandparents got him for me a year ago and paid for everything I needed to get started. But since then, I have paid for everything he needs with my own money. I am not exaggerating when I say that I love my snake and consider him a part of my family. My mom recently got engaged and my stepdad-to-be has kids. They're all nice and we normally get along very well, but we have started to have an issue. They are scared of or just don't like Frederick. He is really nice and would never hurt anyone and even looks cute. They just don't like him since he's a snake. When they started coming over a lot, I was just told to move his enclosure into my room. However, now that our parents got engaged, they are going to be moving in with us. My stepbrother is going to be sharing a room with me. He is 11. However, he doesn't want to be in the room if Frederick is in there. Our house isn't big enough for him to get his own room. His sisters are going to be sharing a room with my sister. My parents have their room and then we have an office. I offered to move Frederick out of my room again, but that won't work for the other kids. My mom has told me that I might just have to let him go so that everyone can be happy, but I have refused. I do not, under any circumstances, want to lose him. My mom said I could get a new snake once I'm old enough to move out, and it would only be for a few years. Both my stepdad and my mom have offered me money and other stuff to get rid of him, or that we could get a different pet, but I have refused to accept that. I don't want to sound spoiled or anything, but I want Frederick and only Frederick. I feel that if my step-siblings just give it a chance and actually try to get to know him even a little bit, they would be able to live with him, but they just won't. They have decided to not like him and won't let me try to change their minds. I know that they will have to live with us somehow, and this will have to be resolved. I asked other family and friends, and people are split. So please, am I in the wrong for refusing to budge on this? Well, OP, in my opinion, no, you're not wrong for wanting to keep Frederick. And you're not the a-hole for refusing to let go of him. But unfortunately, like you say, this situation will have to be resolved because they are going to move in with you. And there's two ways that I see that happening. One, you all move into a bigger house where, the kids get each a room or something like that, and I'm not sure that can happen. Or two, maybe somebody can foster Frederick for a little bit until you get to move out of the house and go to college. Again, like I said, OP, I don't think you're the a-hole, but this is one of those situations where something has to give. And what do you guys think about all of this? What is your judgment? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. Tiny Shine says, not the a-hole. Quote, my mom has told me I might just have to let go so that everyone can be happy. End quote. Everyone? Apparently not you. You go from having your pet and a room to yourself to having to share a room and getting rid of your pet. How is that gonna make you happy? Being forced to give him up will only end up making you resent the new family. It's going to be enough of an adjustment to be forced to live with 4 new people. And your sister is going to have 2 new people live in a room? Have the parents really thought about this at all? Are his kids okay with being smooshed together like this? Sounds like they need to get a different house before they get married. And OP responds, from what I have been able to tell, the only people who mind are me and my sister. I really only care because of the situation with Frederick, and my sister cares because her room is going to have 2 new people. It's a tight fit. The other kids haven't complained at least, except my stepbrother because of Frederick being there. Aurora Burst says, not the a-hole. I can't blame your brother for not wanting to sleep in the same room as an animal he's uncomfortable with, but you shouldn't have to get rid of Frederick. Can you keep him in the office? As an aside, your parents should move the office stuff to their room unless they constantly work from home. It seems ridiculous to have an office when 3 people will be sharing a bedroom. And OP responds, they aren't. They just use it for miscellaneous work that they have to do after they get home from their jobs. Both of those are good ideas. Cajun KC says, not the a-hole. Ball pythons live a long time. My son got his almost 20 years ago and it still lives with us. Giving away a pet is an unreasonable request. Is there any way the snake could stay with your grandparents for a bit as a last resort? And OP responds, I said this in another reply, but since I'm 15, I can't get there easily on my own, even though they only live 25 minutes away. I also don't want to put this responsibility on them all of a sudden. They have their own lives. OP's edit. I can't sleep, so I will talk to my parents in the morning. It's only been an hour, but you guys already have me seriously considering asking about moving in with my grandparents for the time being, probably just until they can get a bigger house. I will also ask them about just moving someone into the office or keeping Frederick in there. However, since his even being in the house is an issue, this might not work. If I do move him to my grandparents' house, I would rather be with him. Thanks for all the support you guys have given me. I really appreciate it. Alright, well the community says not the a-hole and they gave OP some suggestions as to what he should do, and apparently he really likes them because he's gonna do something about it. So now let's move on with the update to see how this story ends. Hi everyone, I really appreciate the support you guys gave me. I talked to my parents about options with Frederick the morning after I posted, since I posted late at night since I couldn't sleep. In the end, after some convincing, I am now staying with my grandparents along with Frederick, my snake for those of you who didn't read my original post. My parents jumped on the idea, and since I do online school and they live so close by, I was able to switch pretty quickly. As a family, we have decided that this is the best for everyone. My parents agreed that the house was overcrowded, my step-siblings-to-be couldn't live with Frederick, and I refused to part with him. In the end, my two stepsisters moved into the office, my parents moved that stuff into their room, and I moved to my grandparents' house. Today I came home and got more of my things, and this will be our arrangement until my parents can get a new, bigger house. So in the end, Frederick is safe and everyone is happy. Everything has been going well so far, but it's only been a few days. Hopefully everything stays good. Well, OP, it sounds like you guys all found a solution that works for everybody. Hopefully everything stays good as you say. Take care, OP, thank you for sharing, and all the best in the future. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out, so here are a couple more that you might enjoy. And if you don't have any time to watch another story right now, save it for later, and also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.